All right, everybody, welcome back. Continuing on, in the last video, we did the martial arts and UFC DVDs and the one Blu-ray that was in there. And we're going to pick back up in this part with the VHS equivalent. So we got some martial arts VHS and then the UFC VHS here. So let's just go ahead and, well, first of all, actually we'll just, you know what, we'll do it this way. So what I'll do first is, like I did in the DVD segment, is I'll show off all the other non-UFC stuff first. And a lot of this stuff, again, this was stuff that back in the day, as I said, everybody had videos. Everybody put out videos back in the day. Everybody put out their curriculum or their system, or, you know, the kickboxing stuff was coming out on video and stuff like that. So, again, half of the time when you would look at Black Belt magazine or any of the magazines back then, half of the magazine would be advertisements for these. So there you go. So, and like I said, some of these have come out on DVD. Some of these have not come out on DVD. A lot of this kind of stuff, some of it's on YouTube. Not all of it, but you can find some of it on YouTube. So let's just go ahead and roll into it. So like I said last time, we did cover a little bit of the DVD stuff, but I said that I had the entire. I'm not going to hold it up because it's way too many to hold, but I do have the Larry Tatum Kempo, all of the self-defense techniques. I have the whole set on VHS, which I got these very, very cheap. So there you go. But this is 1993 is the copyright date on here. Excuse me. But yeah, it is a 21 VHS set. It's yellow belt through third degree black belt. So there you go. So yellow belt got one VHS because it was only 10 techniques. And they're all very short. I don't know why they didn't just with the... You'll see in a second. But yeah, they're all pretty short here. And then for the remaining belts, they did 2 volumes per, because like I said, for yellow belt it was only 10 techniques. For all the other belts it was 24 techniques per belt. Not everyone teaches it that way. When I first started Kempo, it was Ed Parker Kempo. It was yellow belt was 10, and then all the other belts were 12 techniques. Another guy I trained under was Paul Mills Kempo. That was, I think, 12 techniques per belt. Then another guy I trained under, it was 10 techniques for each belt. So there you go. But why they didn't just condense them into one DV or VHS, and the DVDs that he put out later was the same thing. It was 2 DVDs per, and the tapes are only like 10 or 15 minutes each. So I don't know why they just... I know why. To get you to spend more money. And as you can see, some of these are still sealed. And we have the purple belt set. And we have blue. And it doesn't tell you, like the DVD that I have, it doesn't tell you what techniques are in here. You have to watch it. But again, that's because you have to think back then, you know, when now you can get them for nothing, but when VHS was actually, you know, somewhat expensive, you know, these tapes were like $50 a tape or whatever, so they get you to spend more money. I get it, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Larry Tatum has an app, so you can get all these on his app, but I don't know how much that is. Then we have the green belt set. And then once again, third degree brown belt, which I never understood that, but what do I know? second degree brown belt, and then we have first degree brown belt. I'm not going to stack them too high because they will fall. Then we have first degree black belt, which I think after first degree black belt forward, I think was all the extensions. Because like I said, in Ed Parker Kempo, in American Kempo, you get your 154 techniques and then you get extensions, which is just exactly what it is. Okay, here's this move. Now this is the extension. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And there were some people that didn't teach that, and there were some people that did teach it, or it wasn't required or what have you. So I don't know. Like I said, it is what it is. And we have second degree black belt, and then third degree black belt, and that's all. I think after third degree, there are no more techniques. It's just fine tuning everything, and time and grade, and that's how it's supposed to be. But of course, it's never like that, as I'm sure any of you who have studied any martial art know. It's all popularity contest, and it's ego, and again, that's one of the big reasons why I'm no longer in that. So moving on, I only have this one. This is volume 10, but it is Danny Lane's champion karate. This is the self-defense tape, which I found at a Goodwill. Danny Lane, as you could see, trained under Chuck Norris. Now, he did not start with Chuck Norris, but he would later go under Chuck Norris, and he did his own set of VHS tapes. But this is when he was under Chuck Norris's organization, because it was the UFAF, the United Fighting Arts Federation, is what Chuck Norris's group was called back in the day. I don't think it's called that anymore, but this is again when he went under Chuck Norris. So there you go. But Danny Lane is great. You can find some of his stuff here on YouTube as well. He was a Marine, and then he was a cop, and he studied every facet of martial arts. So there you go. Next up, we have the World Kickboxing Championships, which does have a cameo over there from Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that's kind of why I got this. But on here, you do get Dennis Alexio, who played Van Damme's brother in Kickboxer, who was a legitimate world-class, world champion kickboxer. He is currently incarcerated, but he was a great fighter. He was a great kickboxer. So there you go. And then he fights Branko Sikatovic, I think is how you say his name, but he was a great fighter as well. Kathy Long is right there, who I think is the greatest female kickboxer, definitely one of the greatest female martial artists. So there you go. And like I said, Van Damme has a little cameo in there. And then so a lot of these I got in a lot or a collection. I think this one was included, but it's called Heavyweight Championship Kickboxing, which once again has Dennis Alexio. There is a little exhibition, kind of a little fun thing with Bill Superfoot Wallace and Joe Louis on there. So, and my instructor, when I first started back in the day, he got to train a lot with Joe Louis and Superfoot. So very cool stuff in here. Let me see if there's anybody else. It doesn't say. Just those guys that I mentioned. So there you go. So we'll see what that one's like. And then another gentleman that my instructor got to train with quite a bit was Remy Prisas, who was he called it Arnis, Kali, Arnis, what else do they call it? Oh yeah, Kali, Arnis, Filipino stick fighting. It's all the same. The couple times I trained with another guy that we're going to talk about here in a minute, that's what he told me. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's all the same. Kali, Arnis, Filipino stick fighting. It is what it is. Every family calls it something different, but it's all the same. But this is one of the sets that he did. This is from Black Belt Magazine, and it is a 3-volume set. And I want to see if it tells you what they cover here. But like I said, my instructor got to train with him quite a bit, and I got spoiled because I got to do a lot of this when I first started. I think it doesn't say. It just, oh no, it does. Okay, I'm sorry. In this volume, or in this video, excuse me, he demonstrates his specialty and techniques of stick fighting and unarmed self-defense. That's all it says for volume 1. And then the back is all the same. It's just a different color scheme. Hey, kind of like with Ninja Turtles. Then we have volume 2, which is Evasive Footwork Fundamentals de Caderio. Well, I don't know what that means, and I don't speak Spanish. Blocking, checking attacks, empty hand fighting, throws, and trapping. So there you go. And then we have volume 3, which is disarms, counter strikes, using the weapons to disarm an opponent, and proper knife techniques, and more. So there's that. Then we have Ernie Reyes Jr., speaking of Ninja Turtles, Black Belt for Kids and Parents. I have not opened this yet, and I don't know what's on it. But yeah, Ernie did put out a VHS here. Again, I don't know what's on it, but it does say starred in his own TV series Sidekicks, which has never come out, Red Sonja, The Last Dragon, and more recently as Donatello in Ninja Turtles. So there you go. But very cool stuff. And actually, we'll save those for last. But next up, we got some Bart Vale. Bart Vale, he's a character. He's an interesting guy. I will say that. But he created his own system that he calls shoot fighting, which it's Kempo, and then it's a little bit of grappling and some kickboxing and stuff. But he called it shoot fighting because before UFC, in Japan, one of the precursors to UFC was called Pancrase, which was the same thing. But also, they had, I forget what it was called, but it was basically wrestling with martial arts, where it was predetermined and stuff like that. Bart Vale was in that. Ken Shamrock did a little bit, and then after a little bit, he was like, "Fuck it, I just want to fight for real. I just want, I just want to do what I'm am capable of doing. Not, it's wrestling, but they tried to make it seem like it was real. You know what I mean?" But he took the word shoot, because in wrestling, shoot means for real. If you shoot on a guy in a match, you hit him for real, not part of the show. And of course, fighting for the martial arts. So he called it that. Like I said, he is a bit of an oddball. He is a bit of a character. He tried to, when UFC exploded, when MMA exploded, he tried to capitalize on that, and it didn't really work. And he kind of had a couple minutes. Now, I wouldn't say he had his 15 minutes of fame, but he had a little bit of glory. I know a lot of people call him a fraud and all that. I wouldn't really call him a fraud. Again, he's a bit of an oddball. He's a bit of a goof, but I wouldn't call him a fraud. But good Kempo guy. And from some of the stuff I've seen on here, he does know what he's doing, but I think he was more interested in some of the other stuff. So Black Belt Magazine did a set. I don't have the entire set, but this is volume 3. This is the basic to intermediate series, shoot fighting against kickboxers. And he marketed the name, and he trademarked the name and everything. So that's really where he made his money. It says UWF Wrestling, but I think that was here in the States. So there you go. But yeah, there's a little write-up on the back here. And speaking about Ken Shamrock, I know we talked about him in the earlier part, and we'll talk about him here in a little bit, but Bart Vale claimed that he knocked out Ken Shamrock. He never knocked out Ken Shamrock. For real, at least. He knocked him out in a wrestling match because it was a part of the story and it was predetermined, but he tried to claim that he knocked out Ken Shamrock, and he was the only guy to knock him out. When Ken Shamrock found out about it, he called him up and said, "You better stop telling people that you knocked me out, or I'm going to find you and I'm going to knock you out for real." And that was the end of that. So there you go. And he doesn't have anything nice to say about Ken Shamrock and whatever, because it's the ego and all that stupid shit. But as an instructor, he knew what he was doing and stuff. It's just the other stuff I thought was stupid. So there you go. And then we have Volume 4, which is entries, closing the gap. So there's that. Close the gap. Close the gap. And then he put out his own set of VHS, and I don't think this is all of it, but this is the instructor's video course. This is 5 volumes. I found these pretty cheap on eBay, so I just grabbed them. And again, all it says is instructor's video course. The labels are upside down, so whatever. Yeah, the labels are all upside down. I don't know how you screw that up, but oh well. So yeah, I don't know what's on these. I haven't watched them yet. So there you go. And we will save the non-UFC stuff, the last of this, save the best for last. So I do have a gentleman that I would consider one of the all-time greats. Definitely earns the name of master and everything, and a gentleman that I've been very lucky to meet and train with, and we're talking about none other than Guro Dan Inosanto, who deserves, although he is very humble, which, he is one of the few that if he wasn't humble, he would earn it, but he's very humble, and just the fact that the guy's going to be 90 this year, and he's still training, he's still teaching. You have to respect that. And of course, you got to work with Bruce Lee and everybody under the sun. You can't really go wrong. And if you have the opportunity to train with him, do so, because you will learn not just about martial arts, but about everything else. So this is the first set of videos that he did, the Filipino martial arts. It originally came out, I want to say these were the 80s. Late 80s, I want to say these came out. There's no copyright date on here, but that's what I think. It came out as a 6-volume VHS set. I actually covered these in the DVD. I should have saved them, but oh well. In the DVD and Blu-rays, we already covered it because they came out also. I think they were just like burn on demand or whatever. But again, these are the first ones that he did. We have Volume 1, and it does, I don't think it says, let me look on the back here, what's covered in each specific video. It's just kind of an overarching thing, so sorry. Then we have Volume 2. Volume 3. And these, again, I have seen these before because I have them on DVD. Volume 4. Volume 5. And Volume 6. So there's that. And then also, this just randomly popped up on eBay. I never even heard of this or knew what it was, but this is the New World of Martial Arts with Guro Dan Inosanto. So again, I have no clue what this is. Video full of action-packed techniques and information that leave you in awe. Somebody didn't figure that out. With the expressive, smooth, and explosive hands of Dan Inosanto, a definitive video to have and to keep in your library. Dan Inosanto, the man and world teacher. So there you go. But again, like I said, I don't know what is on this, but it's Dan Inosanto related. I'm sure there's going to be some good stuff. This is from 2001. So there you go. Now, we will get into the rest of it, which is all UFC. I actually had, back in the day, so probably about 10, 15 years ago now, I was actually getting these like crazy because they were cheap. They were very cheap to come by. They were very cheap to get a hold of. So I was, again, buying these like they were going out of style, because a lot of these, as we had covered in the previous segment, a lot of these have not come out on DVD in America. Some of them still have not come out on DVD in America. But, for whatever reason, I guess, like I said, the older DVDs did not sell well, or what the case was with them. But they did come out on VHS back in the day, because they had a deal with, originally it was Vidmark. Vidmark would become Trimark, and then they would get bought out by Lionsgate. But they had the distribution for the UFC stuff, and they put out quite a few here on VHS, and then eventually they would upgrade to DVD, and then they stopped doing the DVDs actually quite a while ago, even before, like I said in the previous video, they stopped doing the DVDs quite a while before they had a streaming service and stuff. I think they were doing stuff on YouTube. I apologize, I'm just trying to gather everything up because I have different piles for different things, because some of these I had already in the closet, and these are the ones that I still had left over or already had, and then I bought the rest of them. So there you go. But yeah, they put out the first 22 events, and then they stopped making them because that's when UFC kind of went underground and they lost their distribution, and they were trying to get the sport back where it was, and they were on the verge of bankruptcy so many times. And then when the Zuffa brothers came in, what's the name of the company? The Fertitta brothers, I'm sorry, Lorenzo and Frank. Because they're not credited on the last one here, so it's before they took over. But when Zuffa's the name of the company, my bad. But when the Fertitta brothers and Dana White came in, and then they evolved it to what it is now, with getting on cable TV, and it's a sport. It's not barbaric, and they use gloves, shit like that. And then became what it became. But this is all the old school stuff, which is still the stuff that I like and enjoy the most and such. But yeah, a lot of these I did have, when I first started here on YouTube, I was collecting them, and then I got rid of them because I'm like, it's, I don't know, I just wasn't really into it at the time. And then I kept some of them, and then I got them back, and I have pretty much everything. There's a couple that I don't have, which we'll cover, but like I said, I pretty much have all the ones that came out on VHS. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into it. So first up, I never had this one, the box, but they did do the UFC Action Pack, which is the first 5 events. So I never had this one until recently here. And I'm not going to go over the details and the specifics again, because I just covered that last time. But as with all the videos and stuff, I'll pull them out and show you. So we have the first one, which they called the beginning, because this was not actually the first one to come out on video. UFC 2 actually came out first for some reason, and then they went back and they went back and released the first one, and that's why they put the beginning on it, because that had not come out on video yet. Because if you look at this one, yes, it's UFC 2, but it just says UFC on there, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So there's that. And then we have 3. I still really like the art. Yeah, it's nothing special, but I still really like the art and everything on here, which is really cool. Then we got 4. And then 5. So yeah, they did 1 box set of the first 5 events. Like, I know I had 2 on VHS back in the day. I might have had 5 and maybe 1. I don't think I had all 5 of these. And that was the other thing too. Back when I first, it's kind of like with wrestling, which we'll get into in the next couple videos. But I don't think I had all of them, and then I ended up getting all of them at some point. So then we have the rest of them. So we have 6. 7. We have 8, which I did have this one back in the day on VHS. And also the other thing was, the first 12 were on DVD, so I figured I'll just get those on DVD. So the ones I had on like I said, I had this one, I had 2, I had some of the odds and ends, but most of the ones I had on VHS back then were the ones that you could not get on DVD here in America, and I didn't know about the overseas DVDs until later. And I think that was the other thing too. When I found out that there were overseas DVDs, I'm like, well, I'll just get those. I have a region-free player and stuff, so there's that. But again, I remember like seeing these in the video store and stuff, so that's another reason why I wanted to pick these back up. So then we have UFC 9, which once again, the infamous Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn fight where they were not allowed to do anything under the fear that they would get sued, but they did it anyway, and then nobody got sued. So there's that. Then we have 10. Then we have 11. And then 12. So those are all, again, covered them in the previous parts. So the rest of these never came out on DVD in America, which is why I said I had these before. Like, I think some of these I did keep. I'm not entirely sure. We'll go through them in a minute here. But we have UFC 13, which you have on here. Randy Couture, Tony Hallam. If that name doesn't sound familiar, I'm not surprised. But Tony Hallam was Ludwig Borga back in the day in WWF. And he was also one of the bad guys in Die Hard with a Vengeance. But he tried to transition into UFC because I guess, Ken Shamrock went from UFC to wrestling and then went back. So maybe I could do it too. But he did not do very well. Apparently he was a very not nice person, and he did die, so I don't really feel bad, but oh well. But you also have Guy Mesger, who I love, great fighter, and Christopher Lennegier, I think he came back, tried to make it happen. Tank Abbott, again, you want to talk about characters, there you go. So Vitor Belfort's in here. And then we have 14. You got Kevin Jackson, again, I think he was Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. Maurice Smith, who was a world kickboxing champion, and then he transitioned into MMA, actually did quite well. So there you go. Mark Kerr, again, Brian Johnston, who I did like. Mark Coleman is in here. Joe Moriera, I like him too, another guy. Another great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Oh, actually, uh-oh. Oh, shit. I just now realized that I have 2 copies of 14. So I will, well, whichever one looks nicer, which I think is this one. And I actually watched this one. So I think I had this one before. And, okay, well, there's that. So yeah, I'll keep that one. That one's in a little bit nicer shape. I did not realize that until right now. So I don't need 2 copies of it. My bad. Is there any other ones that I have? No, I don't. Okay, the rest is all single copies. So there we go. Holy shit! I did not realize. That's why I'm doing this, folks. Gotta take inventory of this stuff. Anyway, moving on. We got 15, which Dave Beneteau came back. Randy Couture, Vitor Belfort, Maurice Smith, Tank Abbott is in here. That was the other thing. As they progressed, Hoist Gracie left, went to Japan because there was more money. Dan Severn, Don Fry, Ken Shamrock, all those guys went to Japan to fight because there was more money there. This is, in the early days, there was not a lot of money in UFC. Also, I know a lot of people get mad when I say this, but it is true. But basically, the early UFCs were just infomercials to get Gracie Jiu-Jitsu popular. After they really took off here in America and everything, then Hoist stopped fighting, and then again he went to Japan because there was more money in there. So people get mad when I say that, but it is true. The early UFCs were to get Gracie Jiu-Jitsu out there. So there you go. All right, then we have this is actually from Blockbuster. We have number 16, rather. Excuse me. Battle in the Bayou. There you go, Blockbuster. So we got Jerry Bolander again. Great fighter. He was a Ken Shamrock guy. Yep. Kevin Jackson, Frank Shamrock, Chemo came back. Trying to see anybody else. Pat Militek, but yeah, after, like I said, they would bring back a lot of the older guys, a lot of the older fighters because they didn't have their stars anymore. So that's why Chemo came back and other people. It's like, well, we need bodies, we need people to fight, so it is what it is. Actually, 14 will go here because, excuse me. Then we have 17, which is Redemption. Tank Abbott. Dan Henderson, there you go. Chuck Liddell, Carlos Newton. So this is early appearances from the last couple guys that I mentioned there. Then we have 18, the road to the heavyweight title. And I don't know what these go for. When I got all these, they were cheap. I don't know if there's really an interest in... actually, this one I kept because this was from... there was a video store near where my cousins lived, and I bought some of these from there. This is one of the ones I kept. But I don't know if there's really an interest for these on VHS. Excuse me, because like I said, they got an app and everything. So there you go. But on here, Pat Militek, Jerry Bolander, Tito Ortiz when they went at it, Mark Coleman, Baz is on here. Baz Rutten, love Baz. So there you go. And we got 19 Young Guns, which this one I kept from when I first had these, because like I said, this is another from the video store where my cousins lived. So Guy Mesner and Tito Ortiz went back at it again in the rematch. Chuck Liddell, Jeremy Horn. I think Jeremy Horn was another Ken Shamrock guy. Gary Goodridge, bringing him back. Maurice Smith and Kevin Randleman. So there you go. And then we got 20, the Battle for the Gold. which wants more from the video store. Because when they went out of business, I started buying a lot. I bought a lot of tapes from there. Bass Rutten, Kevin Randleman, Wanderlei Silva's on here. So there you go. And Bob Meyer, which was the guy that ran it back in the day, Vince McMahon had the opportunity. And it's weird now because UFC and WWE are under the same company. But back in the day, Vince McMahon had opportunities to buy UFC a couple times. I think Shane, his son, really wanted him to buy the company, and he didn't see any value in it and stuff like that. So there you go. Then we have number 21, Return of the Champions, which again got this from the video store. Maurice Smith, Marco Ruiz, Pat Militek, Jeremy Horn's on here, so there you go. And then we have 22, only one can be champion, which this is the last one that came out on VHS here in America. I think they lost their deal and they kind of went underground for a little bit. So there you go. And this is right before, again, the Fertitta brothers and Dana White took over. But here you got Frank Shamrock and Tito Ortiz going at it. Chuck Liddell's in here. So there you go. All right. So after that, well, I do have... So what had happened was, like I said, they had lost their sponsors and everything, and they went kind of underground. But when, again, the other people took over, they did release some on their website, and I do have some of those here. So I think they did a couple more. I just don't have those, but we do jump ahead a little bit. This is Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, Dana White, Zuffa. So this is when they took over and started going where they wanted to. So this is UFC 30, Battle on the Boardwalk. So this is in Atlantic City at the Trump Taj Mahal. Tito Ortiz, Josh Barnett, who I always liked, is in there. And then we got number 31, Locked and Loaded. So there you go. Kevin Randleman, Chuck Liddell, Shoney Carter, Matt Serra, Pat Militek, Randy Couture. There's that. And then we have 32. Like I said, I want to say they did, I think, maybe 3 or 4 more. But like I said, I don't have those right now. BJ Penn, who I always like, he just can't fucking stay out of trouble. Tito Ortiz is in here. Pat Militek, Shoney Carter, Josh Barnett. So there's that. So those are the regular ones, and like I said, we do have some of the other kind of in between events. So I do have Ultimate, and Ultimate 2, or 95 and 96 on VHS. So there's 95, and there's 96. Then we have Ultimate Japan. And Ultimate Brazil. This one got a little sticker damage on there. It's probably a rental. Yeah, Video Unlimited, not anywhere around here. So those are all of the events, and then I do have some of the compilation videos they put out. So first up, we have a Night of Champions featuring the greatest champions of the UFC in their greatest fights. So in here, Hoist Gracie, Dan the Beast Severin, Ken Shamrock, Tank Abbott, Don Fry, Oleg Taktarov, Mark Coleman, and catch the special match as Frank Shamrock in his second title defense takes on Jeremy Horn. So I guess that was one of the ones that was not released on VHS. I'm not sure, but yeah, this is a compilation. And then we have, I think when I bought one of the collections. This was in there, and I just kept it. We got UFC Hits Volume 1. I think they did a Volume 2. I'll have to look into that. Hoist Gracie versus Chemo. Tito Ortiz versus Guy Mesger. Mark Coleman versus Maurice Smith. Dan Severn versus Anthony Macias. Tank Abbott versus Don Fry. So that's just some of the matches there. And then this was the only fighter-specific compilation they put out, as far as I know, unless there was a exclusive on their website or what have you. But Ken Shamrock got his own tape, Ultimate Shamrock. I guess they were, because when did this come out? 99, so he was still in WWF at the time, so I guess they were trying to play off of that. I don't know, maybe. So there you go. But it's weird because Ken Shamrock never got a DVD best of. Hoist Gracie got one. Chuck Liddell got one. I think Rampage Jackson got one, which I was never a fan of him because he was always a douchebag. So there you go. But yeah, so this has against Hoist Gracie, Christopher Lennegear, Dan Severn, Chemo. And I've not watched this, but Ken Shamrock is in this, so I guess this was either right when he left WWF or he was still in WWF. So there's that. So last, but certainly not least, they released, in 1995, they released because like I said, back in the day, every guy had a tape with their curriculum or what have you. UFC was no exception. They did a 5-volume Secrets of the Octagon set, which these are very hard to come by now. I had to wait to find these to get all 5 of them, and I don't think they were cheap either. So these are pretty hard to come by now, and they've never come out on DVD. I've never seen them here on YouTube. So yeah, these are pretty tough to find. So we have Volume 1, which focuses on striking. And I think it's got, I think Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Oleg Taktarov, and Keith Hackney, I think they're in here as the instructors. So there you go. Like I said, I haven't watched these yet. We got Volume 2, Takedowns and Shooting. Volume 3, Submissions. The artwork is exactly the same on all 5. Volume 4, Escapes, and Volume 5, Training and Conditioning. So, like I said, they got in on that game too, of getting out tapes and trying to make some money and stuff like that. So that is it. That is the UFC and martial arts VHS collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and the next set of videos we'll be looking at wrestling, which again, it is weird that we live in a world where UFC and WWE are owned by the same people, but money talks and bullshit walks, as the old saying goes. So we'll catch you guys next time. We'll start with the DVDs and the Blu-rays. That should only be maybe 2 parts. I don't see really going beyond that. We'll see what happens. And then the VHS will probably be about 2 parts as well. So we'll take care of that starting next time. We'll see you. Bye-bye.